Versace is one of the most famous fashion brands in the world, known for its stylish clothes, bold designs, and its famous Medusa logo. Today, Versace is worth more than $2 billion, but what most people don't know is that it all started with a young boy helping his mother in her small dress shop. However, this isn't just another rags to riches story. You see, as Versace started to grow, it got lots of criticism and backlash from people. And things got much worse when Versace founder Gianni Versace, in peak of his career, shot outside his home. Gianni Versace was born on December 2nd, 1946 in Reggio Calabria, a small town in Italy with very few job opportunities. Most locals there didn't receive a proper education, and the local economy was so bad that many people had no choice but to leave and search for work in other cities. Despite this, Gianni's mother, Francesca, made a name for herself as a dressmaker, while his father, Antonio, worked as an appliance salesman. Their family stayed in their hometown and slowly built a better life and entered into the middle class. They were one of the few families in town who could afford a television. Back then, having television was a big thing. However, Gianni had two siblings, his older brother Santo and his sister Tina. But in 1952, tragedy struck during a family trip to a carnival. Tina scraped her knee. It seemed like a small injury, but a doctor gave her the wrong treatment, and within a day, she passed away. She was only 10 years old. Her death left the family heartbroken. To heal from their pain, Gianni's parents decided to have another child. When Gianni was 10, his sister Donatella was born. From the day she was born, they weren't just siblings, they were best friends. In fact, Donatella played a big role in the Versace business, but we'll get to that later. From his childhood, Gianni spent a lot of time in his mother's dress shop. He would often hide behind the curtain, watching her mother clients as they got ready in their dresses. Gianni's mother, Francesca, was the top dressmaker in town. She made her customers feel like the most beautiful women in the world. Gianni loved being in the shop so much that sometimes his mother worried. She feared he wasn't spending enough time with friends or focusing on his studies. Unfortunately, Gianni was not good in studies. While other kids focused on their studies, he failed in classes, skipped school, and barely paid attention. While other kids planned for their future, Gianni was only interested in one thing: fashion. Every time his parents gave him money, he spent it right away on clothes and fashion magazines. His parents were afraid. They wanted him to go to college and have a stable future. One day in school, Gianni was caught by his teacher, sketching women all over his notebook. Page after page was filled with women's drawings. The teacher didn't like what she saw and immediately called his mother. She thought the drawings were inappropriate. But when Gianni's mother looked at them, she didn't see anything wrong. She understood that he wasn't just drawing women, he was designing the dresses they wore. At that moment, she realized that school wasn't for Gianni. His true passion was fashion. Eventually, Gianni started spending even more time in his mother's dress shop, not just watching, but learning. He paid close attention to every detail, how to pick fabrics, sketch, and create patterns for his new designs. These early lessons shaped his entire approach to fashion. But it wasn't just the craft he picked up. He also noticed how his mother treated her clients, making each woman feel special. Soon, he wasn't just helping out, he became his mother's most trusted assistant. For the next few years, Gianni worked in his mother's shop, learning more and more about the craft. Then, in 1965, when he was 19 years old, his mother decided to expand her business and opened a boutique right next to her workshop. But this wasn't just for her, it was for Gianni. Gianni named the shop Eli Francesca Versace and wasted no time. He started traveling across Europe, searching for the best fabrics and the latest trends. But these trips were about more than just shopping. He was meeting designers, learning more about fashion, and making important connections. However, when Gianni came back from his trips, his mother was shocked by the clothes he brought. She shouted at him, and for the first time, he started to doubt himself. In their small town, women preferred to wear simple clothes, but Gianni had picked short dresses, bold designs, and styles that showed off their figures. It was something completely new. At first, it seemed like a bad idea, but soon, young women started coming to the shop, excited to wear something different. Gianni had given them exactly what they wanted. The risk paid off, and with that, Gianni Versace had officially launched his first successful business. During this time, Gianni knew deep down that this was only the start of his fashion career. While Gianni was busy filling his boutique with new fashion pieces, his mother was also teaching him more about dressmaking. She wanted him to bring his creative ideas to life. Every time he got a new idea, he would quickly sketch it in his notebook. They often visited clothing manufacturers together, and Gianni always carried his sketchbook full of his own designs. During one of these trips, he met the owners of a knitwear brand called Florentine Flowers. They were so impressed by his sketches that they offered him a chance to work with them in Tuscany. For the first time, Gianni had the chance to step out of his mother's dress shop and his small town to chase something bigger. When he was 25 years old, Gianni saw this as an exciting opportunity in his career and decided to move to Tuscany. He put everything into his first collection, and thankfully, his first collection was a big success. His new bosses were so impressed that they rewarded him with a brand new Volkswagen. However, in 1972, when Gianni was 26, he was ready for another great opportunity. He moved to Milan, the fashion capital, to chase his dreams. He started working as a freelance designer, creating clothes for big brands like Callahan and Mario Valentino. It was clear to everyone Gianni was incredibly talented and his designs were in high demand. For the next 6 years, Gianni worked as a freelance designer in Milan, building connections with wealthy people and getting big projects. His skills and growing reputation brought him huge paychecks, earning him 6 figures a year. By this time, he was earning far more than he had planned, but freelancing wasn't enough. Gianni wanted more. He knew it was time to take a big risk and show the world his own creativity. He gathered his best designs and managed to secure an exhibition at a famous art museum in Milan. At first, he was nervous, but when people saw his work, they loved it. He received a lot of demand from people who wanted him to design dresses for them. This was the first time Gianni worked directly with clients instead of designing for a brand. Seeing this growing demand, Gianni decided to start his own fashion line, but launching his own brand wasn't easy at all. In 1978, at the age of 32, Gianni officially launched his own fashion line, and starting a brand from scratch required a lot of money. Luckily, Gianni secured financial backing from a wealthy Italian family who believed in his talent and work. His years of freelancing and networking in the fashion world were finally paying off. Gianni always put his family first and valued them the most. He appointed his brother Santo as CEO and his sister Donatella as vice president. Together, they launched the Versace brand. However, Gianni was very smart when it came to business. He knew he wanted to attract rich customers, so he decided to open his first store in one of the best areas of Milan. When Gianni first opened his store, there was just one rack of dresses, but he arranged them in the windows so nicely that women couldn't ignore them and walked into the shop. With that, the Versace brand was just starting, and soon it would become the Versace we know today. From the very beginning, Gianni was a hard-working man. He understood his customers well and knew trends and fashion better than anyone else. Soon, Gianni's sister, Donatella, moved to Milan to help Gianni with his business, but after just a few months, she grew bored with her role as vice president. She was still young, in her 20s, and unsure about what she wanted to do with her life. Eventually, she realized she wanted to be a fashion designer too. To support her, Gianni started a new line called Versus, allowing Donatella to showcase and sell her designs in the Versace store. Gianni always learned a lot from his sister Donatella, especially when it came to women's clothing. He often said that my sister Donatella was my first customer. Gianni was always one step ahead of his competition. He focused heavily on quality and was known for using innovative materials in his designs. He didn't shy away from experimenting, often using aluminum mesh, leather, rubber, lace, and anything else he could think of to create something unique. This mix of materials was rare and made his clothing stand out from the crowd. Gianni was also making great use of leather. While leather was usually used for biker jackets and punk styles, Gianni Versace was one of the first to use it in high fashion. But as you see, when you grow, more people started hating you, and the same thing happened to Versace. As the Versace brand was growing, it started to get a lot of criticism from the media and fashion community. Some people thought the designs were too simple and didn't have much thought behind them. Others said the clothes were too revealing. People even started saying, Armani dresses the wife, Versace dresses the mistress. But Gianni never paid attention to the criticism. He ignored it completely and focused only on what his customers wanted. He knew that his bold designs were what people loved, and he stayed true to his vision. As Versace became more successful, Gianni started opening new stores. While other big brands focused on the West, thinking that's where the most money was, Gianni thought differently. In 1979, he took a big risk and opened his first store in China. Many people didn't expect it, but later Gianni's move paid off. After finding success in Italy and China, Versace expanded by opening flagship stores in major fashion cities like New York, Paris, and London. He was always ahead in the fashion game, and by the 1980s, Versace had become one of the top fashion brands in the world. Gianni wasn't just a talented designer, he was also great at marketing. He understood that having celebrities wear his clothes would make the brand even more popular. Using his connections, he made it happen. Gianni dressed famous people like Elton John, Michael Jackson, and even Princess Diana. When these stars wore his clothes, pictures of them were all over magazines, and soon everyone wanted to buy Versace. By this time, Versace was no longer just an ordinary company who followed trends. It had become a brand that created its own trends. In 1992, Versace shocked the fashion world with a collection called Miss S and M. Models walked down the runway wearing leather harnesses, and that same year, Donatella wore a bondage dress to the Met Gala, making a huge statement. It was bold, but it changed fashion by showing that women weren't afraid to show some skin. Gianni also said, "We have to really break barriers every day. Fashion to me is born and dies every day." Then in 1994, Elizabeth Hurley caught everyone's eye at the premiere of 4 Weddings and a Funeral. She went as Hugh Grant's date, but her outfit stole the show. She wore the famous black Versace safety pin dress, and the media went crazy over it. That dress turned Elizabeth from a rising actress to a household name almost overnight. While some luxury brands refused to make affordable products for middle-class people and even destroy unsold items instead of offering discounts, Versace did things differently. Gianni wanted more people to be able to enjoy his brand. He believed that by making his designs available to a wider audience, his brand would grow. So, he started selling smaller luxury items like jewelry, wallets, perfume, and home decor. While other brands charged thousands for a purse or dress, you could buy a Versace accessory item for just a few $100s. This made Versace more popular, and more people started recognizing the famous Medusa logo. Needless to say, Gianni was doing great for Versace and he was enjoying his success, but just a few years later, he was found dead. During his rise in fame, Gianni kept a secret from the world.
I've never said it. I'm gay.
He was gay and deeply in love with Antonio D'Amico. When his family found out, they were worried. They feared that if people knew, it could hurt the Versace brand and its sales. In the fashion world, reputation was everything, and Versace didn't want to lose it, so they decided to keep this a secret from the public. In 1992, Gianni bought a mansion with Antonio in the South Beach neighborhood of Miami. While living there, he often visited local gay nightclubs, but he never drank or danced with people. He went there for inspiration. He wanted to see what people were wearing, what styles they loved, and how fashion was changing. Even though he was very rich and famous, he stayed down to earth. He always talked to locals and paid attention to every little detail. By this time, Gianni was 46 years old, and he never believed in retirement. He was still passionate about his work, always looking for ways to make his designs even better. In one interview, he even said, "Fashion, it's like oxygen for me. I love doing fashion." But on July 15th, 1997, at the age of 50, something tragic happened to Gianni. He went for his usual morning walk outside his Miami home. He picked up a cup of coffee and grabbed copies of Vogue and The New Yorker. But as he was heading back, a 27-year-old man named Andrew Cunanan was waiting for him. Suddenly, Andrew pulled out a gun and shot Gianni right outside his home. The people of South Beach were completely heartbroken. They gathered outside Gianni's home to pay their final respects. More than 2,000 people attended his funeral, including dozens of celebrities like Princess Diana, Naomi Campbell, Elton John, Madonna, Sting, and his fashion rival, Giorgio Armani. The entire world watched his funeral as it was broadcast on television. At the time of Gianni's murder, Andrew Cunanan was already wanted by the police for other murders across the United States. He had already killed several other people before making his way to Miami. Andrew, the murderer, was reportedly gay. Just 8 days after killing Gianni Versace, he was found dead in a boathouse. He decided it was better to commit suicide than go to jail. In 1997, when Gianni Versace passed away, he was one of the most famous fashion designers in the world. In less than 20 years, he built a global empire that put Italy at the top of the fashion industry. Gianni Versace wasn't just an ordinary designer, he was a celebrity in the world of fashion. But despite all of this, the Versace story didn't end there. At the time of Gianni's death, the Versace brand was worth $87 million. In his will, Gianni left 20% of the company to his sister Donatella, who stayed on as the artistic and creative director. His brother Santo received 30% and became the new chairman. But surprisingly, the remaining 50% went to Gianni's niece Allegra Versace. He loved her like a daughter and called her his little princess. She was only 11 years old when Gianni died and received half of the company. Gianni didn't just think about his family, he also made sure his boyfriend, Antonio D'Amico, had some money. In his will, Gianni Versace left his boyfriend, Antonio, a monthly allowance of 26,000 euros and the right to live in any of the Versace family mansions. But Donatella Versace did not like Antonio at all. Unfortunately, she controlled the family's money and properties, and she didn't want to give him so much of her brother's wealth. Donatella took the matter to court, and in the end, Antonio left with a lump sum for his inheritance and decided not to fight over living in the mansion. However, after Gianni's tragic death, many companies approached his family, offering millions to buy the Versace brand. They even said, "None of your family will ever have to work again." Donatella used to get offers like this every week, but his family refused to sell. They wanted to continue Versace legacy themselves. Donatella said, "My brother would never have wanted me to sell even a single office chair. The company was family, and you don't sell family." So the Versace family continued to run the brand on their own. But what most people don't know is that Versace played a role in a surprising invention in 2000. Donatella designed a dress that Jennifer Lopez wore to the Grammy Awards. When she walked the red carpet, all eyes were on her. It was a green jungle print dress and everyone was talking about it. After the event, the dress became so popular worldwide that it became the #1 search term on Google. But there was one problem. Back then, Google didn't have an image search option. In fact, so many people searched for the dress that the Google team realized the urgent need for a Google image search. So, it was actually Donatella's dress design that led to the creation of Google Images. Donatella was doing great for Versace, but deep down, she was not happy. She was still struggling with the death of her brother Gianni, and things got even worse when she became addicted to coke while working at Versace. Luckily, at Allegra's 18th birthday party, Donatella completely broke down. Her family members and close friends were worried about her addiction, but later, one of family friends, Elton John, convinced her to go to rehab and leave her addiction behind. And thankfully, she agreed. However, despite all of this, Versace business has not had a happy ending. In 2014, Versace's business was struggling and sales were continuously declining. The sales were not as good as in the past. Eventually, things got so bad that the family decided to get help from outside the family. At first, the Versace family decided to sell 20% of the company to the private equity firm Blackstone Group. They also brought in a new CEO, Jonathan Akeroyd, to help boost sales. Fortunately, with the new leadership, Versace made a strong comeback and became popular again with younger audiences. As time passed, it became clear that the next generation of the Versace family wasn't ready to take over the business. Santo and Donatella, wanting to keep their brother's brand alive, knew it was time to make a difficult decision. They decided that the best way to protect Gianni's brand in the future was to sell the company, making sure his vision would continue long after they were gone. In 2018, they sold Versace to Capri Holdings for $2.12 billion. They also set two conditions. One was that Donatella and Santo would work full-time for Versace, and the other was that the family would get $176 million worth of Capri Holdings stock from the sale. Thankfully, both conditions were accepted. After that, Versace never looked back. They expanded beyond fashion and launched two Versace hotels, one in Australia and the other in Dubai. What started as a small family dress shop in Italy grew into a multi-billion-dollar fashion empire. As of today, Versace remains one of the top fashion brands in the world. However, if you want to watch another crazy true story about fashion and murder, I highly recommend you check out the Gucci story. Just click the thumbnail and I'll take you there.